Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Oh Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Giridharadhari, Jaya Giridharadhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Giridharadhari, Jaya Giridharadhari, Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Janarandana, Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Janarandana, Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Janarandana, Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Janarandana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Oh Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Oh Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radha Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Vishwabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vishwabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Jaya Vishwabhanu Nandini Radhe 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 Jai Shri Shri Guru Garangagan Havaki Girit Hari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Omasto Tarazarashi Shimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazarashi Shimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazarashi Shimat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Omasto Tarasarashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Vaishnavas Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantam Anapaityam Apaitikrityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Tarabo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Munim Ridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paratram Tato Mamanastikatina Kapi. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Asto Tarazarashishi Madhila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved, Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Asto Tarazarashishi Mad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And unto our beloved, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarapaya Rupanuga Varayate, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So, coming to our Falshruti, second set. Jade Dvaita Jnane Haya Chita Upadaya Krishna Bhakti Chiradina Upaya Upaya.
Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world is fit to be rejected.
Why should we try and assimilate knowledge of this dull material world? It's called empiric knowledge. What has empiric knowledge got to do with transcendence really at all? But we're so conditioned by going to school, going to universities, going to all these different educational institutions that we get addicted practically to that idea that by my material intelligence, I will be able to actually access this phenomenal, extra dimensional, transcendental topic, completely fictitious. Nothing to actually Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he says that material intelligence is often a hindrance to moving on this path. Because if we're very materially qualified, we might be just leaning back on that confidence of our material ability and trying to take shelter more of my material um, ability in this world rather than depending on Krishna. When we depend on Krishna fully, then Krishna can open those doors more easily. This is the truth.
Whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the Upai, means of attainment, and the Upai, goal worthy of attainment.
Mm. Jiva
Jiva
Kabu
Kabu Jadanai,
Jadanai,
Hari
Hari
Kabunai,
Kabunai,
Hari
Hari
Saha
Saha
Jiva
Jiva
Chintya
Chintya
Beda
Beda Bedamai.
Abedamai. The Jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Kevala Advaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. The Jiva is inconceivably different and non different from Hari.
Deha Kabu Jivanai,
Karabhogyanai,
Darabhogyanai,
Dasabhogya
Dasabhogya
Jiva
Jiva
Krishna
Krishna
Prabhu
Prabhu
Bhokta Hai.
Bhakta.
The material body should never be considered to be the Jiva, and this earth is not for the Jiva to exploit and enjoy.
It's a journey, isn't it? We all caught in this illusion of this material um, existence. For so long, it's become like impressed within us that this is the standard. Everyone else is doing it, so I must do it. So, this practically public coercion, I'm convinced by public demand that I should do like this, I should get a good job, I should get good education, I should educate my kids, all these kind of conditionings. But actually, the devotee, even on the path of realization, will start to appreciate these are useless wastes of time and energy. It's good education to exercise and train the muscles of the brain to learn, etc. This is healthy, of course, it's healthy. But the subject matters generally are taught have to be given up later on. And if those subject matters take too much of a deep impression, they can be very difficult to give up. So, material education isn't really advantageous for spiritual life, particularly. From the point of view of exercising and training the mind, it can be helpful, but the actual topics are not really of much value.
The Jiva is inconceivably different or non different from Hari.
The Jiva's Swarup is Krishna Das, and
Sorry,
thus he is.
the Jiva Swarup is Krishna Das, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, whereas Sri Krishna's Swarup is Prabhu, Master, and Bhokta, enjoyer.
Huge conceptions. It's like a whole transformation of consciousness to realize these truths. Beautiful, beautiful, sublime, transcendental truths. Jaiva
Jaiva
Dharma
dharma
nahi
nahi
ache,
ache,
deha
deha
dharma
dharma
katha,
katha,
nahi
nahi
ache
ache
jiva
jiva
jnani
jnani
maya
maya
vada
vada
prata.
prata. This book, entitled Jaiva Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavada doctrine of the Jiva's oneness with Brahma. Nitya Dharma is bhakti devoid of material motivation.
That's his intrinsic nature. It's his swadam, is bhakti. That's his nature. That's our nature. It's not, we're not going to inherit something from another place. It's already there, established. Our process is just to uncover what's already there.
The Jiva, purified by Seva, attains the fruit of that seva in the form of prem.
Yes. And what is the nature of that prem? This is what we discussed with the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That prem is service to Swabhakti Shriyam. Mahaprabhu, he's tasting that Unnata Ujvala Ras. That is what he is tasting. The divine couple, they are tasting that. But for the jiva, our gift is service to that. This ragmag, bhakti loke, karite prajan, this service to that swabhakti shriyam, which is manjari bhav, service to Sri Radhika. That is the prem that the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are aspiring for. That prem towards Sri Radhika, because that is the gift that Mahaprabhu is giving. He's not giving Sakhi Bhav. That Sakhi Bhav is something quite different. Rai Ramananda, in order to get Sakhi Bhav, you have to have a Sakhi who's in that Sakhi Bhav. So who is the Sakhi who's distributing? There is a Sakhi. This Lobi, that person who's giving the greed for that. We understand that this Sambhog Ichmayi, this 5 types of Sakhis, these Sakhis, Nitya Sakhis, Prana Sakhis, Priya Sakhis, and Priyanam Sakhis. So 3 of those are Sambhog Ichmayi. That means they're manifesting from Radha with the adhikar to actually consort directly with Krishna in a conjugal relationship. They have that from that, they're manifested for that. So unless you're coming from that place, how can you aspire for that place as being like a gopi dancing in Rasalila? That's not the gift that Mahaprabhu is actually giving something even more special. Because when we take shelter directly of that tadatmik bhav, tat bhav ichamai, like the pran sakis or the nitya sakis, they are all manjaris under Rupa Goswami. So if we take shelter of this, then the prem or the fruit that is available for the jiva is inconceivable, because we become tadatmik with Sri Radhika, and we can taste the same expressions of emotional bhav that Sri Radhika takes when we're in her company. If we're together with Radhika and serving in the kunj in an intimate way, then those same bhavs will manifest in the manjaris. So that's the prem that we are gifted with the opportunity to come to, not Sakhi prem. So we should be very, very clear on this point. Okay, so now we come to the 64 angas, and we're scrolling through them all. And the teachings here are remarkable. So we're on to page 472.
The last question below. How can one be saved from lamentation?
Okay. Go
Vijay,
ahead.
how can one be saved from lamentation, anger, etc.? Babaji, if one's consciousness is full of sorrow, fear, anger, greed, and madness, Sri Krishna's Spurti manifestation will not appear. It is natural to feel sorrow and illusion when one is separated from friends or when obstacles prevent us from fulfilling our desires. But it is not proper to remain under the sway of this sorrow and illusion. One will certainly feel separation when separated from a son, but one must remove this sorrow through remembrance of Sri Hari. In this way, one should practice fixing the mind on Sri Bhagavan's lotus feet.
If one stays absorbed in lamenting for a departed soul, then that's like sentimental indulgence. Yes, we should lament for that departed soul for a period of time, but then we should, with our knowledge, understand where has that departed soul gone to. Because if we lament for those departed souls for a long extended period of time, it It like binds the soul to this world. It doesn't allow him to travel on. It's like when we pour the ashes into the Ganga of the departed soul, we don't look where those ashes are going. We immediately turn around and leave. So those ashes will be liberated from whatever company they had here, because we should understand from Atma Tattva that they are moving to another birth. So we should give them complete free rein to move to that birth. But if we have undue attachments that we linger and still hold on to, then almost like a ghost, that personality can hover around on the astral level and not actually go into his next birth. So this undue lamentation is actually described as an offense. Ultimately, it's an offense to indulge in that. It has no value whatsoever, and you're just hindering the departed souls arriving at their destination, their next destination.
Vijay, you have said that one should not disrespect the Devatas. Does that mean that we should perform their puja? Babaji, we must have undeviated bhakti towards Sri Krishna, who is the root Devata of all the Devas. One should not worship any other Devatas, thinking them to be independent of Sri Krishna. At the same time, one should not be disrespectful to others who offer puja to these
That's
Devatas.
a very important sentence. Even though we're not offering puja because we have no, we understand that by offering to Radha and Krishna and these absolute transcendental personalities, that all deva worship is included. But we should be very respectful towards those who are on that path and need to go through that offering to Swagaloka, etc. They are in that channel, so to speak. So we should appreciate that and not minimize their worship, not criticize in any way. The Devatas are doing enormous seva in this universe to hold it together, etc. Vayudev, Agni, Suryadev, all these mighty personalities are facilitating our sojourn in this material world. So they should be given complete honor and respect. But we have nothing to beg from them, so to speak. We're not offering puja, requesting anything like that, because we know that all our objectives are going to be resolved with service to Radha and Krishna completely. But anyone who is engaged in that, there should be not a smell of criticism towards that, ever, because those devas in those particular persons' lives who don't know so much about Krishna, that is their only it's like Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, if you meet someone of another faith, you should never dismantle their faith. You should build on their faith. If you meet someone of a particular faith and you see that there's all kinds of weaknesses in that faith, you should just add strength to that person's understanding rather than dismantling that faith, because then the person will be left with nothing. So this is very dangerous to do like that. So we should honor those people who are worshiping the devatas also and appreciate where that is on the yogic ladder, so to speak. It's there. It's a bona fide process. So it's there. I mean, there's so many temples to Ganesh, Durga, Kalima, all these different personalities. So that's the best that they're doing. So encourage that. But whenever we're asked, is there anything further, then we can illuminate on that. But never be disrespectful. We should never be disrespectful to anybody, but particularly those who are worshipping the devatas also. The sound is okay?
Yes, ma'am. At the same time, one should not be disrespectful to others who offer puja to these devatas. One should respect the devatas, understanding them to be all servants of Krishna. But one should always only remember Krishna. Undeviating bhakti will not rise in the jiva's heart until it is free from material qualities.
Yes, these material qualities will manifest when we have a separate interest to Krishna. Why do people worship the devatas like Ganeshji, for example? Every businessman has his murti above the door when you go in or somewhere, because they want to increase their material prosperity, because they want to increase their exploitation of this world. That's the reason. They're not wanting to increase their wealth so they can distribute it everywhere. That's not usually the objective. Usually the objective is they want to increase their own pleasures here. So if that's the objective, that is not the path of Krishna consciousness, of course. We're the opposite. We actually want to be liberated from that. So where is it saying? Undeviating bhakti. Bhakti will not arise in the jiva's heart. My Gurudev many times would go into different people's houses, especially in Delhi and places like that, and see so many times different devas on the altar. And he would always try and encourage them. Actually, you don't need these devas. Just keep with your principal Thakurji. If they had Radha and Krishna in the center, there's no need for all these other devatas. Absolutely no need for them. So, but we still offer them respect. I would also see my Gurudev offering respect to Suryadev daily. We'd go for our morning walk and he'd say some prayer to Suryadev. No problem. But it's out of respect. It's not out of need. I'm not praying to the devatas to collect anything from them, to help me with something. That's not my objective. You can ask them if you want to help with our bhakti, but that's not even necessary. You can go to Nrsingadev. He will clear all objects, blockages, etc. Like we have in the first chapter, Pradumna Brahmachari. He's residing in Nrsingapali. And I asked my Gurudev, and he's reading Prema Vibhart daily. So he's a Nityasiddha Parika of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I asked him, why is he residing in Nrsingapali? And my Gurudev said, because Nrsingadev takes care of the bhaktas of Krishna. He will clear any obstacles in their path. So we can take shelter of Nrsingadev to assist us to come to the kunj of Radha and Krishna, like that. But we don't need Ganeshji. But still, we offer them respects. Problem is, it gets habituated. If from birth you've been worshipping these personalities, like many here in India are, from birth, so it's very difficult for them to separate that. So that'll just come naturally. As the affection for Radha and Krishna increase, then those towards the demigods will minimize.
How about Shiv, Maharaj?
Huh?
Shiv.
Same.
But we see in many of the altars, Shivling is present.
He's never present on the altar. He's always present to the side of the altar. You should never, ever have Shiv Lingam on your altar, ever. Shiv Lingam should be off to the side. Worshipping Shiv Lingam will support our bhakti. Shivji is Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnava. So he's supporting our bhakti. Gopeshwar Mahadev, he's the Kshetrapal of the Ras Leela. So he's a very potent personality, but we never have him ever directly on the altar. He's always off, usually to the left-hand side, in a little side niche or something of that nature. We see in Rup Sanatan, for example, we have Gopeshwar Mahadev, the Murti form, but it's in front of the altar. It's on the other side of the altar. It's not there. And like in Swananda Sukkata Kunj, we have Nandishwa as you go in the gate, and then you come to Gaur Gadadhar. You always have the Shiv Lingam separate. Never ever have Shiva. If you have Shiva Lingam on the altar directly, then that's a misunderstanding. Really, a misunderstanding. But it's healthy to have. This is Gopeshwar Mahadev here, separate.
One whose consciousness is covered by the gunas, sattva, raj, and tama, will perform puja of the devata of the particular guna.
Yeah, that's interesting. So one whose consciousness is covered by the gunas, they will worship the devatas. Very simple.
By which he is influenced, and he will have a particular faith, nishta, according to his qualification. Therefore, one should be respectful towards the worshipable devatas of different persons.
Different persons. Doesn't say
according to their
doesn't say where one should be respectful to all the devatas, but the different persons who worship those devatas.
By the mercy of these devatas, the consciousness of these worshippers will gradually become free from material qualities.
Yes, the devatas themselves want this gift of raga nuga bhakti. They also appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's not accessible from Swagaloka. They actually have to come down to this earthly plane and take birth here and practice the precepts of Vaishnavism. And then they can actually embrace Mahaprabhu's instructions.
Vijay, please explain about not giving anxiety to other living entities.
Mm.
Babaji, Shri Krishna is very quickly satisfied with one who maintains a compassionate mood towards other jivas and who does not give them any kind of anxiety through his body, mind, and words. Compassion is the main dharma of the Vaishnavas.
Because Krishna demonstrates his compassion by coming to this material world. In Vaikuntha, Goloka Vrindavan, Ayodhya, these other spiritual planes, how can Krishna demonstrate any compassion? They're all completely satisfied, self satisfied, worshipping the Lord. There's no need for compassion. It's only here in the material world where we're struggling with the material modes of nature that compassion quality is needed. So we are always praying, and it's always Radhika's compassion that takes the precedence. Actually, Mahaprabhu has come in the mood of Radha. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is the most munificent, the most generous-hearted in his. He's distributing the very, very, very highest conception known to man, the love of the gopis for Krishna. He's distributing a clear appreciation of those moods of the gopis. There is no other example of the love that the gopis have for Krishna. No other example. The gopis are the topmost. So Mahaprabhu has come to unpack, to unfold the mentality, this state of consciousness of the gopis for us. He's come to give us entrance into that world. This is why he's come. When we start to appreciate that, because Unnata Ujjvala can't be accessed unless we have Gopi Prem. This Braja Prem can't be accessed any other way except through the path of the Gopis. It can't be manifested except through the path of the Gopis. It's the Gopis who are demonstrating the highest exhibition of love known to man. So this whole path is love, but the Madhurya love of Braj is a very much special. It's not the same as Dwarka, not the same as Ayodhya. There's a Vaishishthya, speciality there. And this is what Mahaprabhu is giving his whole teachings to explain and bring us to that appreciation of that tremendous bhav that resides in only Vrindavan, Braja Ras, Bhakti Ras. Bhakti Ras was not even present previously.
Vijay, how does one abandon offenses in seva aparad, and in chanting Harinam, Nam aparad?
This is number 19, by the way.
Babaji, one must be very one must very carefully give up the seva aparadas in deity worship, archana, and nama aparad in general bhakti. There are 32 kinds of seva aparad, including entering the temple wearing shoes or sitting in a palanquin. And there are 10 kinds of nama aparad, including blaspheming saints and disrespecting Sri Guru. One must certainly abandon these two categories of aparadas.
Very clear. Very clear.
Vijay, you have said that we should not tolerate hearing blasphemy of Bhagavan and his bhaktas. Does that mean that we should fight with the blasphemer? Babaji, those who blaspheme Sri Krishna and the Vaishnavas are opposed to Sri Krishna, and their association should be given up in any way possible.
Sometimes if you take on a fight, so to speak, or a battle of words, you can embroil yourself more in that apparat. Most times, just to cut it, when you appreciate someone is in that mentality, just leave and have no more communication with them. If you try and get into communication and think that you can actually purify that person, you might get more embroiled in the whole apparat. That's often the way. Better just to leave it, ignore it, allow Krishna himself or Guru to deal with that.
Vijay, you mentioned that these 20 angas of bhakti are especially significant. What is their connection with the other angas, Babaji? The remaining 44 angas are included within the 20 angas that I've just described. They have been presented as different angas in order to explain them in detail. The 30 angas from item 21, accepting the symbols of a Vaishnava, to item 50, offering one's dearest possession to Krishna, are included in the path of deity worship, Archana.
Okay.
So, continuing with the different angas, number 21, accepting the symbols of a Vaishnava means wearing a necklace of tulsi beads around the neck and applying tilak on 12 parts of the body.
These tulsi beads should always be continuously together. It's not that sometimes you see people, they're wearing tulsi beads and they have a jewel in between each tulsi bead. That means you're not getting a continuous effect of tulsi devi. They should be all together with no ornamentation in between. We shouldn't hang something on a tool. If you have a necklace, then make a chain for it and hang it separately. And my Gurudev also encouraged that on the Kanti Mala, that there should be 3 separate strands, not one full strand. If your strand breaks and it's only one strand, then you lose the whole thing. But if you've got 3 separate strands and one breaks, you've still got 2. So the noose of Yamaraj can never go around your neck. But if you have it all combined in one long thread,
Separate.
separate,
Okay.
1, 1, 1. So if one breaks, there's 2 left. If 2 break, there's 1 left, etc. So this makes a lot of sense, you know.
And there is
Huh?
an explanation why three? Why three, not five?
Well, we have 2 for, it's like Tridandi. It's mind, body, and words. So this 3 is an auspicious number and represents all the highest conceptions. Radha Krishna Mahaprabhu. You can think it many different forms like that. 2 before you have Diksha and 1 and 3 after Diksha. That's generally the way.
Mhm.
22. Wearing the letters of Sri Krishna Nam means writing names Hare Krishna or the names of the Panchatattva on the main parts of the body with sandalwood pulp, Chandan.
The
20.
names decorating the body are very nice. We see when we place a great soul in samadhi, then the various gopi mantras will be written in sandal on the body like that. So these names always have great potency, especially if they're actually stamped on the body.
23. Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that we accept the deity's remnants, Nirmalaya. त्वयोपभुक्ता श्रग्गन्धवासोऽलङ्कार चर्चितः उच्छिष्टभोजिनो दाशस्त्वमायया जयेम हि. Wearing the remnants of garlands, sandalwood paste, clothes, and jewelry that you have worn, and taking the remnants of your food, we, your servants, will certainly be victorious over your Maya.
Very nice. So whatever remnants are there, we embrace them fully.
24. Dancing before the deity of Krishna.
Krishna is very happy when he sees us dancing.
25. Offering prostrated obeisances, Dandavat Pranam. 26. standing up when one sees Sri Vigraha coming,
Mm.
Abhyud, Abhyuthanaha. 27. Following behind the deity in procession,
It is
Anuvrajya.
offensive if we don't do this. These are what we should do, and if we don't follow that, then that will constitute an offense.
28. Going into the temple of Krishna. 29. Parikrama means circumambulate the deities at least 3 times, keeping them on one's right side.
But our Guru Vargya, many times they say 4 times actually. And I read the other day some praman, somebody sent me some praman about 4 times, but we always do 4 times anyway.
Archana means performing worship, puja of the deity, Sri Murti, with different articles. 31. Paricharya means performing seva of Sri Krishna just as for a king. Paricharya tu sevopakarānādi parikriya tata parikranaka chartha vaditadair upasanaha bhakti rasamrita sindhu. This paricharya is of 2 kinds. One is to clean the paraphernalia and to perform worship, and the other is to perform seva with a chamara, to hold an umbrella, to play musical instruments, and so forth.
This is very, very purifying for the sadhak to engage in kirtan, etc., in front of the deity, to use the chamara for the deity, etc., like in a Rath Yatra procession or something of that nature. It's very, Krishna is very appreciative of that. It reinforces the personal mood between the sadhak and Krishna. It's very, in the 11th canto, he speaks a lot about this in the chapter. He's speaking to Uddhav, speaking about deity worship, the whole chapter.
There is no need to explain the next few angas separately in any detail. 32. Singing. 33. Congregational chanting of Sri Harinam. 34. Humbly expressing one's mind in words. Vignapati. 35. Chanting japa and mantras with achmana 3 times a day.
With
36.
Achman, whenever we say Anik, whenever we say Gayatri mantras, we should always perform Achman first, and then we chant our Gayatri mantras, because otherwise we're not clean. And these mantras, they're coming from Sri Radhika ultimately. So we should be in a clean external state. So by offering Archaman and calling the 12 names of Krishna on the body, in that way we are cleansing the whole external body.
36. Reciting shlokas. Stavapata. Pata. The glory of Sri Krishna. 37. Accepting the accepting and respecting foodstuffs offered to Sri Krishna. Naivedya. 38. Tasting with devotion the water that has bathed Sri Krishna's lotus feet.
Charanamrita.
39. Relishing the fragrance of incense and garlands that have been offered to ceremony. 43. Hearing the glories of Krishna's Naam, Roop, Guna, Leela, and Katha. 44. Experiencing Sri Krishna's mercy everywhere and in all circumstances. 45. Contemplating Sri Krishna's Naam, Roop, Guna, and Leela within the mind.
Always.
46. Thoroughly meditating on Sri Krishna's Naam, Roop, Guna, and Leela and offering service in the mind. Manasi Seva.
So there's service, there's 2 distinctions here. One is contemplating, one is offering service. So they're distinct. His qualities, Krishna's qualities.
These few angas are quite clear. 47. There are 2 kinds of servitorship. Dasyam, offering the results of one's activities and being a servant. 48. There are 2 kinds of
You
Sakya.
should stop after each one, just take a breath or so.
48. There are 2 kinds of Sakyam, that which is based on faith, Vishwas, and that which is based on an attitude of friendship, Maitri.
So this attitude of friendship is more prominent, although both are very prominent. How can you have friendship without having faith? So that mood should be there. Actually, my Gurudev used to explain that everything is about mood. All of our practice is about mood. It's about state of consciousness. It's not about ritual. It's about what is the mood behind the activity. What sort of consciousness are you projecting onto the deity? So this mood is very important.
49. The significance of the word Atma Nivedanam comes from the word Atma. From this come the two principles of egoism of the embodied soul, namely attachment to the Dehi, possessor of the body, in the form of Ahatma, I-ness, and attachment to the Deha, body, in the form of Mamata, minus. Atmanivedana means to offer these two principles to Sri Krishna.
This is like Sharanagat. I'm offering my whole self, internally and externally, for the pleasure of Krishna in a focused manner. I'm understanding what I'm doing.
Vijay, will you please explain these two terms clearly? The egoism of the embodied jiva, Dehinishta Ahamta, and attachment to the body and to the things connected to the body.
So we are
Dehanishta.
attached to the body, but I'm offering this to Krishna for purification of my consciousness. You understand? Okay, read the answer.
Dehanishta Mamata, Babaji. The jiva within the body is called Dehi, embodied, or Aham, self. Acting with the false consciousness of I is called Dehi Nishta Ahamta, the egoism of the embodied jiva. And the consciousness of possessing the body or things that are related to the body is called Deha Nishta Mamata, attachment to things connected with the body. These two principles of I and mine are both to be offered to Shri Krishna.
That's how we purify these conceptions. These are both material conceptions, right? I am the body and this is mine. This is described in chapter 7. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks a lot about that. But if both of these are offered to Krishna, that is the purification process. That is how we will purify that. We can't just purify those misconceptions in a moment. That illusion of my bodily identification. But if I offer my bodily activities, and if I offer my possessions to Krishna, that's the beginning. And then eventually I realize that these aren't mine anyway. And that then I can come into the pure consciousness of just Jivara Sarupoi Krishna Nityadas. I'm just a servant of Krishna. My Atma is a servant of Krishna.
Atmanivedanam means to relinquish the consciousness of I and mine and to take care of the body with the consciousness I am Krishna's servant. I take Krishna's prasad and I use this body in Krishna's service.
Very clear. Very clear. Simple.
Vijay, how should we offer to Krishna?
We make it difficult when we don't want to do that. When we don't want to do that, then we have a big problem. Then we can't understand it. But if you're happy to surrender everything to Krishna, then it's very simple to appreciate. But if we don't want to do that, it becomes very complex and difficult.
It's to let go our ego.
Yes. Yes, that takes a lot. That's our life's journey to begin with. But actually, that's like liberation. But our path is beyond liberation, of course. To let go of the ego, yes, but in what sense? This is training us to let go of the ego, but towards Krishna. I'm not just not for Nirvishesh Brahma or anything like that, but it's actually for Krishna's glorification. So this is the activity of the soul when it's liberated. That's the principle.
Vijay, how should we offer to Krishna things that are dear to us? Babaji, when we accept the things of this world that are very pleasing to us, we should first offer them to Krishna. That is what Srila Rupa Goswami means by offering the dearmost things to Krishna.
That's usually money, isn't it? It's usually our material wealth. If we offer that to Krishna, then we will be purified of that misconception that it belongs to me. It's actually all Krishna's properties. Everything belongs to Krishna. This is a complete misconception that it belongs to me. This is just binding me to this material world more. So, as much as possible, we should offer our various material acquirements or resources to Krishna as much as it doesn't mean necessarily that you have to give them away, but you're actually utilizing them all in his service. Everything you have, you utilize in his service. That's the
Yukta Vairagya.
Yukta Vairagya, yes.
Vijay, how should we perform all endeavors for Krishna's sake? Babaji, performing all endeavors for Krishna's sake means that one should perform all material activities and all activities in regulated devotional service that are favorable for service to Sri Krishna, Hari
This is
Seva.
where it's very helpful, actually, if ever you've lived in a mutt, if ever you lived in that environment with many devotees, and the whole day is focused around various different activities of the mutt: cooking, cleaning, speaking, chanting, kirtan, dressing deities, distributing, etc. But if you don't live in the temple, then you have to make your particular grihasta like an ashram. You should make it like that and make all the activities that you perform in your we should start to call it an ashram and make it clear that all your activities are only to please Krishna. Your cooking, your everything activity, and that way supports our journey of the soul.
Vijay, how can one accept shelter in every way? Babaji, taking full shelter, Sharanagati, means to express the mood. O Bhagavan, I am yours. Hey Bhagavan, Tavai Vasmi. And, O Bhagavan, I am taking shelter of you. Hey Radhe, Hey Krishna, Tavai Vasmi. In the mind and out loud.
Just like a dog takes shelter of his master, he's living off the remnants of his master. Everything the master desires, the dog is ready to fulfill that request. The dog is ready to please the master always. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he talks about this. We want to be a dog in the house of Krishna, like that. We want to please him as much as our ability allows. With that mentality, we will grow in our devotion to him, because that will increase, and then our devotion, and then we will perceive what is most pleasing to him, and then we will endeavor for that more and more and more and more. And how do we do this? Through Guru. Guru is the representative of Krishna in this world, and his Guru, our whole Guru Vargya. We're depending on our Guru Vargya. Without that current of our Guru Vargya, then we cannot engage in these angas. It all has to be generating through Guru. Otherwise, there's no focus. It's just my independent desire to do things. Because you can't just serve Krishna without the sanction of Guru. It's like offering our bhoga. We can't offer the bhoga without, first of all, offering it, or not offering it, but giving it to Gurudev to offer. We always offer our bhoga in two stages. First of all, Guru is called, given a sitting place, and then he will take the bhoga to Radha and Krishna. And then when it's prasadam, then we offer it to Guru. Guru will accept never anything except prasadam. We should never offer a garland that has not been offered. We should never offer anything that is not prasadam to Guru. Everything should be prasadam, unless you're buying for his kitchen or something of that nature. Then it should just be like regular bhog, so Guru can offer it.
Vijay, how does one perform service to Tulasi? Tulasi Seva. Babaji, there are 9 ways of performing Tulsi Seva: having darshan of Tulsi, touching Tulsi, remembering Tulsi, performing Kirtan of Tulsi, offering obeisances to Tulsi, hearing the glories and pastimes of Tulsi, planting Tulsi, looking after Tulsi, and perform regular daily worship Nitya Puja of Tulsi.
And we should always appreciate very, very strictly that never on Dwadasi should we water Tulsi, should we pick Tulsi, should we move Tulsi, should we do anything of that nature. We can offer obeisances, we can chant Tulsi, but we should never disturb Tulsi on Dwadasi, the day after Ekadashi. Never water anything of that nature on Dwadasi. Be very careful because that will constitute offense.
Vijay, how should one respect the Shastras? Babaji, the Shastras that establish Bhagavad Bhakti are the real Shastras. Srimad Bhagavatam is the best of all these Shastras because it is the essence of all Vedanta. Those who taste its nectarian mellows have no ruchi for any other Shastra.
So
Vijay,
that uh, Krishna Swadharma Pachite Dharma Janadibi Saha Kalona Satrisham Isha Purana Kodanodita. This Bhagavat Purana has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna with his own abode accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Men who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of this age shall get light from this Purana. So how can an intelligent person not worship and honor this Bhagavat Purana? This Bhagavat Purana is our life sustenance. It's our lifeline. We see that people, when they, as soon as they start to involve themselves in absorbing Srimad Bhagavatam, they become addicted almost immediately to the speciality and potency of the truths. It's described that Krishna's footprint is on every single page. But my Gurudev describes that Radhika's mood is in every single letter of the Bhagavatam. So this Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. It's the topmost scripture for this age because in the ultimate, it has the shining face of the Lord. I read the other day to you all how the Ashraya is the embodiment of the complete Prayojan Tattva. And the first 9 cantos, they will bring us to a adhikar where we have the ability to appreciate the 10th canto. Without reading the first 9 cantos, we're in a very fallen condition. We have to read the first 9 cantos to feel the respect towards Krishna and to understand who he is. And then we develop the eligibility to enter into the 10th canto.
Vijay, what are the glories of Krishna's birthplace, Mathura? Babaji, all desires are fulfilled by performing the following activities in relation to Mathura: hearing, chanting, and remembering, desiring to go there, seeing, darshan, touching, residing there, and serving. You should know that Sridham Mayapur is also of exactly the same nature as Mathura.
And Gokul. We should understand this distinction. My Gurudev was once asked, it appears on a map that Mathura is in the Brajmandal, but we know that the mood of Mathura is completely different to the mood of Vrindavan. There's only 8 miles difference geographically, but the mood of Mathura is fully Aishwarya Bhav, fully. Queen Kunti, all the Yadavs, they all resided in Mathura. When Krishna goes to Mathura, he doesn't take his flute, he doesn't take his peacock feather, he goes into another whole different prakosht, a different world. So he was asked the question, why does it appear when you look at the Brajmandal map, it seems like Mathura is right planted in the middle of the Brajmandal? And he described it very beautifully. He said, if you look at night at a constellation of stars, and there might be a cluster of stars very close together, but then you look through a powerful telescope, and some of those stars are very, very close, and some of those stars are billions of miles back. So it's like that. Mathura is actually billions of miles back. It's a billions of miles different Prakosht to the prominent uh, moods of Vrindavan. It's not the same. because you have to go through Mathura to get to Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, these places. You have to basically go through Mathura. But understand always that Mathura itself is very, very distinct from the rest of Braj. It's like it's millions of miles in another direction, separately. Of course it is, because it's Aishwarya Bhav. That means they don't have the conception that I have to look after Krishna, that I am Krishna's sustainer. I will nurture Krishna. They have the conception, I want something from Krishna. Krishna will support me. Totally different, completely different conception, completely different conception. So here, for convenience sake, Rupa Goswami is using the word Mathura. But we should understand also the distinction between Mathura and Vrindavan. To spend one night in Mathura is something, but to spend one night in Vrindavan is completely different. So it's very, very important to fully, deeply appreciate the distinction between Mathura Dham and Brajadam. No comparison whatsoever. One is billions of miles different, even though they're in the same mandal. You see any map of Braj, it has Mathura like right in the middle, sitting on the Jamuna. But the gopis, do they ever go to Mathura? Does Radhika go to Mathura? So how can Mathura be auspicious if it doesn't have Radhika? It has Dwarkadish is there being worshipped. Lakshmi Dwarkadish is worshipped in Mathura. Okay, I think we should stop there on a Vrindavan note, coming through the different angas here. Very beautiful to have this education. So the next question is, what is the purport of serving the Vaishnavas? Just read this one. The Vaishnavas are very dear to Bhagavan. So when we serve the Vaishnavas, we obtain bhakti towards Bhagavan. It is said in the Shastras that worshipping Sri Vishnu is greater than worshipping all the Devatas, but greater than the worship of Vishnu is worshipping the Vaishnavas, who are his servant, Sevak. What's that? Aradayo? What's that verse? Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadyanam Smarcharam. That Parvati, she's asking Lord Shiva, what is the highest form of worship? Lord Shiva says that the worship of Vishnu, but higher than the worship of Vishnu are the worship of Vishnu's devotees. You should know this verse.
Right, but I not understand this phrase because the devatas, Krishna's devotees. What's the difference? Like if you
Yes, but
worshiping devatas, it's Vishnu more highest
No.
and Vaishnavas more highest. But
worshipping the Devatas, understand clearly where the Devas are situated. He's asking a very nice question, that worshipping the Devatas, because they probably didn't hear on the thing, worshipping the Devatas seems to be like worshipping the Vaishnavas. The Devatas are not Vaishnavas in the same sense that the Vaishnavas from this realm are. The Devatas, their spiritual master is Brihaspati. Brihaspati is described as Brahman realized. If you're a Devata in Swagaloka, your swabhav, your dharma, is to serve Krishna with great opulence in Swagaloka. You cannot go from Swagaloka to Vaikuntha. Impossible. You have to come to this plane to go to Vaikuntha. The Devatas can't go to Vaikuntha. Devatas are called Bhoga Yoni. They're the species of pleasure. They have great opulence. They have great sensual pleasures. They can, like Indra, for example, the king of the Devas, he begs forgiveness for trying to murder the residents of Braj. And then Krishna comes 3 weeks later and asks him for a parijat tree. Indra says, no, you can't have it. What is that? What sort of devotion is that? They will call Vishnu to help them when they're in need against the demons. But as soon as Krishna has resolved that difficulty with the demons, then they don't need to call Vishnu anymore. He goes back to his own abode. And they don't have any interaction with him. They don't cultivate devotional service like it's cultivated here, because they have too much mighty seva to perform, number one. Like Vayudev, Agnidev, Suryadev, they perform huge sevas to Vishnu. But they also get remunerated by experiencing great pleasures. Swagaloka is the place of pleasure, Boga Yoni, the species of pleasure. What?
But what about Pandavas then? They also devatas. All of them.
No,
was,
the Pandavas are Nitya Siddha Parikars. They're eternal associates of Krishna in Dwarka. They're eternal associates. They also have, they move through Swagaloka, but they're not. They manifest, like Arjun, his father is Indra. But still, those Panch Pandavas, they are Nitya Siddha Parikars. That means they always come with Krishna. But they're not Devatas.
What before Arjun and all Pandavas was Brahma. Was Indra before and different. It has information. Madhvacharya told that all Pandavas was Indra's king before this Indra.
I've never heard that. He's saying that all the Pandavas were Indras. That maybe or maybe not, but nevertheless they are still Nitya Siddha Parikas. That means they're eternal associates of Krishna, and they come to perform their Nitya Seva to Krishna. There's such a distinction between Swagaloka. Most people here in the material world, if they're not educated, they want to go to Swagaloka. They don't want to go to Vaikuntha. They want to go to Swagaloka, because it's seen that Swagaloka is filled with pleasure. Boga, Boga Yoni. Boga means pleasure. They're the species of pleasure within this, in the heavenly planets. They have heavenly opulences. And the species here are called Karma Yoni. We're the species that engage in karma. And the lower species are Papa Yoni, sinful species. These are the three distinctions.
And
you must know this. You
Devatas
must
are Jivas, right?
Huh?
Jiva Tattva. Devatas.
Devatas are Jivas, yes.
Jiva
Yes,
Tattva.
yes, yes. Devatas were people like you in their previous
That's right,
birth,
Jiva
just going up and down, up and down. What's that? Abrahma, Babuna, Loka, just going up and down through the different planetary systems. Just oscillating, sometimes in heaven, sometimes in earth, sometimes in the lower planets. Not getting out of this Brahmand. You can only get out of this Brahmand by coming to this earthly plane. Because in this earthly plane, there is distress and happiness. In the Swagaloka, there's principally only happiness. So they don't have time. They don't have the inclination to beg to be relieved of their suffering. They don't seek moksha. Yamaraj is not seeking moksha. Yamaraj is serving the Supreme Lord in his service. He's one of the Mahajans. He's serving the Supreme Lord. At the same time, he has his seva to perform. Understand?
Except Shiva, other
Shivji has four aspects: Gopeshwar Mahadev, Sadashiva, Shambhu, and Rudra. So it is Rudra who is here, and Shambhu is his, and Sadashiva are beyond this world. So in some scriptures, it's declaring that Shivji is Bhagavan, and he is Bhagavan. In one sense, he's Swamsa, Tattva. He's manifesting directly from the body of Baladev.
Taking that point, when you say Shiva is a Bhagavan, the second offense is like considering Krishna's name with Lord Shiva and other devatas. It's an offense.
Yes.
So how do we?
We can understand that in one sense, Shivji, he is manifesting, and Baladev, all the Swangsa avatars, they're avatars. They're manifesting directly from the Swarup Shakti. directly. So they call it Swa Angsa. That means they're connected directly. But we don't worship them separately. If it's Shuddha Bhakti that you're desiring, there's no need to say. We describe Shivji as Swangsa Bhav Abbas because he doesn't sit in his own planet, in his own Godhead. Like Nrsingadev will have his own planet, Varahadev will have his own planet, etc. They will all reside in their own Godhead, so to speak, the other Smamsa avatar. But Shivji doesn't. Shivji worships Sankarshan. He worships Lord Ram. Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnava. So we worship Shivji as the greatest Vaishnava. We don't worship him as Bhagavan, but some do. And we respect that. But it's not a fact. Ete kamsa kalapam sam, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Only Krishna is that supreme Swayam Bhagavan. No one else. Okay, we conclude. Dandavat pronounce. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Vanchaka Patrubhyascha. Kripa Sindhavevacha. Patitanam Pavanibhyo. Vaishnavevya Namaha.